Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible and all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young and I'm one of your paranoid, suspicious hosts. Joining me as always is our other paranoid and suspicious host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
I am so excited about this topic. So I'll start by telling you about my LA
Oh,
vacation.
please do.
By LA, I mean Los Angeles,
Oh,
the state
excuse
of
me. Oh, yeah.
California, the
Yeah,
country
for
of the
anybody who
United
doesn't know.
States. So, um, so I was texting you throughout my trip because like things were happening, and I was like, remind me to tell you about the robot cars and delivery vehicles. And you were like, oh, have you ridden in a Waymo? And I was
Yes.
like, okay, I want to wait until we get on pod to talk about this.
Uh-huh.
So all of our bendies can also hear me
Yeah.
ask you, have you ridden in a Waymo?
Have you ridden in a Waymo, Beth?
Never. So a Waymo is a robotic free driving itself
Yeah.
taxi,
Yeah.
and they're everywhere, and they have all these like wheels going. I don't even know what these, it
They're like
must be like
sensors and stuff, aren't they? I think.
images, I
Yeah.
don't know, but
Yeah.
there's like one on each side and on the top, so the whole thing just looks like it's like vibrating. And sometimes they have people in them, but like there's not really ever, they can seat five because you, I guess you can sit in the driver's seat and not actually drive the car. So the Waymos are everywhere. And I have one child that is super pro Waymo and one child that is very anti Waymo. So every
Okay.
time we'd see one would be like, yeah, and they would be like, And then there are these like, because I don't live in a city, and this I know this is happening in cities now. There was there's a new company, I think it's called like Coco or something.
Okay.
And but they're like maybe like 2.5 feet by like 2.5 feet boxes
Okay.
with wheels and antennas, and these little like delivery robots that like drive around everywhere. So you're like
Okay.
standing at a stoplight waiting to cross the street, and like you turn around and there's three of these like delivery robots behind you, and you're like, who has the right of way? I guess I'll walk. And like they censor, they have the sensors so they know where you are, and they kind of like move around. And it's the craziest thing seeing delivery robots just like roaming the streets.
I
Um,
because do
did
they
you
are
see
there
those?
drones as well? Have you seen the delivery drones? Do they have them?
I saw no delivery drones.
Okay.
They're definitely like robots on the ground that show up at a place. People come out, they put the things in, and then they drive away and deliver it like 2 blocks down the street or whatever people
Yeah.
do in the cities. Because, it's like
I
that quote in LA Story where he's like, he drives like 40 feet to get to his best friend's house.
yes. That
They're
is
like, I'll walk in LA, like no one does it.
that is absolutely smelly shit. That was the thing that I found the hardest first time I visited there was
Mm.
I was there as a student and it was like, well, I guess we'll use public transport because you think about the public transport in the UK and it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
An absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
I've
did
had a
you, when
headphone
you're
malfunction, so
fine,
apologies.
do you want
Go on
to,
ahead,
no, no,
continue with what you're saying.
well, I just wanted to ask you if you, while you're fixing your headphone, did you get in a Waymo when you were there?
No, I did not. I did not even see one. I don't think I even knew they fully existed whenever I first went there. I think I'm just gonna have to hold my hand to my ear. It's fine.
Okay.
I,
You
I,
look very Star Trek
right.
Trekky right
It
now.
is. It is. It's giving real Star Trek vibes. Um, So no, I don't think I knew they exist. I don't remember seeing one when I was there, but I
Okay.
may have. I don't believe so. But I would be have been curious. Like I was there so briefly this time round. I was there
Yeah.
like basically in an overnight, and I went for a hike, so I wasn't really around that many. I wasn't really in downtown really that much either. Um, but like I probably would try one. I think I would. I'm curious. I must say.
I think this is like a question I want to ask people. Like, would you get in a robot car or not?
Well, I mean, here's the thing for me. It's like,
I,
I mean, would you
if,
trust a robot more or a human more? And like,
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
roll of the dice.
yeah. Like
Who
if
is
we were all in
driving?
Waymos, right? Like traffic was horrible. There was an accident. Like this a cement truck was tipped over on
Oh
the
no.
five, on the five,
Oh, the
right?
five. Okay, yeah, yeah,
This is how we talk in California when
yeah.
we're in LA. All you do is talk about streets and
and
ways to get places.
roadworks.
Yes. But I was like, well, if everyone was in Waymos, like then there wouldn't be car accidents really. And that's not actually true because like they get stuck on I've heard that they get stuck on like train tracks and stuff and then like the train hits them.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. And Mike he showed me a video yesterday of one of those Coco like delivery machines just
Uh,
getting fucking railed in the middle of an intersection. The car didn't see it because they're only 2.5 feet tall, right? You're not looking at that level and it just
yeah.
obliterated it. So
Okay.
that's a design change. Anyways, so LA was great. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. The sum up. LA was great.
Do you want to know how much an arcade game is on the Santa Monica Pier? You're like, oh,
Ooh.
I'm gonna play a game of Super Mario, original Super Mario
Sure.
Brothers.
Can I make a guess?
Yeah,
$5.
close, two
Oh, okay.
bucks.
All right. I was really going. That is
And that doesn't
insane.
even come with tickets. They don't do tickets anymore, Andy.
That's
It's on a
ridiculous.
card. And then you're like, well, I'm waiting in line for, I just like, things are changing and it's
Yeah,
upsetting. But I was a kid that loved getting the tickets. So I would
absolutely.
go and I would get the plastic cup that was worth $25 that said Chuck E. Cheese on it, you know?
And you spent like $100 to get that item on arcade machines.
Basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah. So also, for those of you who know Venice Beach, I ran into Harry Perry, who's the guy with the turban who like rollerblades around with his
Okay.
guitar. And I've seen him every time I go to Venice because I
Uh-huh.
love him. And like, it's to the point now where if I walk by, he looks at me and points at me and he's like, it's you. And I'm like, yay,
Nice.
Harry Perry, what's up? So I saw Harry Perry. I bought a t now he has t-shirts for $30. I highly recommend if you see him, buy it because you'll get a free CD and he'll like play music for you. So he sang us a couple songs, we hung out, we chit-chatted, and it was lovely. So
That
he's
rocks. Yeah,
like a staple of Venice Beach.
I'm just looking him up. He looks cool as hell. Yeah, that's
He
great.
is fucking cool as hell. It's like, it's kind of like the whole time I was like, he reminds me, and he probably knew like Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
Because they were all like on the Venice Beach area together, and he's about that age. So, anyways,
Have I told you about the guy I met on the Amtrak train many years ago? So, okay, after I was in University of North Carolina, a friend and I bought an Amtrak rail pass, like a 30-day rail pass. At one point in that journey, we took a 36-hour train from Chicago all the way down to Arizona, I believe. Basically, like
brutal.
it was horrifying. Like,
Did
it
you
just
have a sleeper car?
no.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've done that from
And
like
I
Portland to Oxnard, and that was like 22 hours.
and I
And
was like
I just drank gin.
I was broke as shit, so I couldn't afford anything, so it was just brutal. And like my friend who I was with, he could sleep just fine, and I couldn't sleep at all. So
Of
like
course.
I went down, I found like a smoking car that had somewhere I could lie down. I tried to sleep there. It was a disaster because like essentially after like 30 minutes, and I got me 30 minutes of sleep, um, these kids came down and started fooling around and blah blah blah.
Oh
And
my God.
right, it's just like it was a load of bullshit. And then right, this guy turned up. This guy, long gray hair, sleeveless t-shirt, like just kind of like really cool looking, like some tattoos and stuff like that, like a beard. And like he just started like speaking wisdom to these kids in a really kind of lovely. Like I was 21 at the time, I was still kind of a kid too, but like he was just speaking wisdom to these kids. And lovely guy. I ended up getting talking to him. We had a nice time. And he's just like, do you want to like hang out? Do you want to go and get breakfast together? And I was like, absolutely. And we had, and like, I think it was my first time getting biscuits and gravy because that's all I could
Oh,
afford on the sleep
right.
on the train. And he was just a lovely dude. And he like gave me his card. I think I still have it somewhere. It's essentially like it was a day glow American dollar with him like rocking out on guitar in like the centerpiece. It fucking ruled. He's called Chuck Watts. He
Chuck
had roadie
Watts.
for Hendrix and all this sort of stuff. And he was just the fucking coolest guy. The part I remember most clearly about him, and it will stay with me for the rest of my life, is I think I might have told you this before. Is he described like he was telling me all these stories, and I love people like that. I love people that are just like, let me tell you my shit, because I'm a receptive audience
Yes.
and I'm curious.
Yes. Yes.
And he talked about taking this woman to a cabin and he described her taking her shirt off and he goes, man, it was like a Buick was driving towards me. And that description has stayed with me for the rest of my
Uh,
life. But he was a rad guy. I hope he's still out there because he was just the best. And it was such a like he made that trip bearable. And it was funny because like another friend of mine who was also doing somewhat similar, but like at a different schedule, also bumped into him and had met him at a different time. And um I can't remember what it was. Mike had told me about somehow because he met Mike after he met me, and he said something about me like saying basically along the lines of, "Man, if you were drowning, that guy would be the first guy that jumped in the river to save you," and it really touched me,
you're
and like
like, oh,
and that it was that
he
description
loves
to
me.
it was that description to Mike that made him go, "Was that Andy?" And I was like, "Oh, guys." Um, so yeah, that was
It's
very
true
sweet.
though.
That
It's
is true. It
true.
is true. But yeah, sorry, that was a. I have I told you that story? Or is that a new one?
Like you told me that you like met some guy that was a roadie, but
Okay,
not
not all of
the
it.
the words of wisdom. No, and not
Not the.
the
Oh yeah,
Buick. The Buick.
the Buick. Anyway, tangent.
I'm
Okay, so
gonna have to use that pass it off as my own. Just
you're right. It's so good.
yeah.
Um, so since I spoke to you last, I have went on a lovely holiday.
Where'd you
Like
go?
went to Donegal for a long weekend. It was lovely.
Donegal.
So it was
You really
right.
pronounce it Donegal?
Well, that's the incorrect way.
I know.
Yes. Um, so it was basically right up the north there, and it was just lovely. It was a wee kind of cabin, and it was just like just so lovely just to kind of like get away. Basically didn't look at my phone for like 2 days
Yeah.
solid, and was just absolutely lovely. So my girlfriend and I, and um, both of our dogs. So at the minute, how we've been talking about it is that it was Andy and his three girlfriends because whenever we first started dating, I said, "Look, I need to warn you. Sasha thinks Sasha thinks I'm her boyfriend, and soon enough, her dog fell in love with me too. We
Yes.
think
I would
so,
say all animals will just eventually fall in love with you,
right?
regardless. So having like experienced that myself
That's
with all my
true.
pets and
Start,
any
yeah,
animals in the vicinity. So
it's
yes.
true. So that was,
Yes.
so it was lovely, and it was just lovely spending some time away. It really was. Also, in some fairly seismic news, especially for people who like listen to this podcast a lot. I have quit the choir. Da, da, da. Step down. I
Good
officially
job.
told, thank you. I appreciate it. It was hard work.
How'd it
Um,
go?
it was fun. Like I think, and we talked
You're
about
done,
this.
done.
I'm
You're
done,
not
done.
like
I'm
inching
not,
out.
no, I mean, like, I am working through to the end of this term, but that finishes
Okay.
next Wednesday. Because
Okay.
I didn't want to just be like, mic drop, I'm out of here because that would have really shafted them. But like, I was like, I am stepping down at the end of this term. It's nearly over. And like they took it well enough. I think they did because like I'd already floated the idea, so it wasn't completely out of the blue. Um, but
Good.
yeah,
How's it feel?
weird, but like I'm happy about it because like it's been such a stressor for me. Like the whole, geez, like I mean the whole 2 years I have loved it, but like it has been more than anything a source of stress to me, and I'm kind of glad that I don't have that anymore because like it's also, in terms of potential earnings and things like that, it has always been like a weird sort of situation. It's like because I'm also the one who's like trying to apply for funding, and that funding, as anybody who knows who's applied for funding, can collapse very quickly, especially for social things, um,
Haha.
right?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so, it has been so unreliable, and it's very much a thing where I'm like, I need to focus on stuff that's going to earn me money and like,
Mhm.
not give me stress all the time, if
Yeah.
possible, would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see, But like I'm very happy that it's happened. Long time coming, and yeah, much, much needed.
I'm so proud of you. Like
Thank you.
we've talked about this, just the concept of like having to step down from something and tell people something they don't want to hear, and like you like removing yourself from something if it's job or like a volunteer
Yeah.
position. It's so hard. It's
It
so
really
hard.
is. And I do feel guilty, but I'm also kind of like, as has been pointed out, and to other people that I have worked with, like, they're like, good for you because they know how much work it is. And the people that often do the kind of organizing and all the kind of really kind of crap work, people don't really realize how much there is to it until they actually do
Yeah.
it, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's like and I will not say it was thankless because a lot of people are very kind of have really expressed a lot of kind words to me and continue and have over the years. But it just is sometimes is like I can't keep doing this, you know, if most of what I get out of it is kind of stress, you know, and
Yeah.
it's making other parts of my life difficult, and I'm just like, you know, I'm not going to do this anymore. So yeah.
There you go.
Da, da,
Other
da.
no, but like for other, for listeners, hey, maybe Andy talking about it for a year and then actually doing it.
It's not like man.
I'm gonna do this too, just so you don't feel bad. Sorry, guys, he's fucking with his
I
headphones.
know it's driving me crazy. Right, I might.
No.
Beth, can you vamp for a minute, and I'll fix it properly because it's going to drive me
Yeah.
insane.
No, 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 it's totally fine. I'm going to
Okay.
talk a little bit more about Hollywood and
Okay.
LA. Um, you had talked about doing a hike in Los Angeles. We also did a hike. So we went up to the Holly. There's like, I know there's a lot of different hikes up in the hills, but we did the one that takes you through like Rodeo Drive and Beverly Hills and like up to the Griffiths Observatory.
Yeah.
And then, so we got to do the hike,
Oh,
which
I love it.
was,
Round the bottom of the
yeah,
observatory.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yep, yeah. No, we were, it's like, yeah.
You kind of
So it
like, I don't,
started
sorry,
at,
what I mean is you kind of go up to the observatory and there's like paths you can go down to from
mhm,
the,
mhm.
is it those ones? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we went up instead of down so we could get closer to it was like a
Yeah.
half mile because small legs and whiny children. But
Oh, yeah.
it was just so like I was like, oh, I love LA.
Yeah.
Like I forget that occasionally, like when you're in traffic and people are being so horrible. Um, like it's such a great, it's just like when you're above it all and you see the gravity of it and you see
Yeah.
how much it influences the rest of, not even that, it's just like we watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit the other night
Hmm.
and I was like, well, A, awesome movie, B, I didn't recognize how many times I've seen it and how many lines I know, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's a classic.
but like that was filmed there, and we were driving to the Griffith Observatory, and we went through the tunnel that takes you to Toontown.
Yeah.
And
Really?
I was like, "You guys, this is the tunnel." And they were like, "Oh my God, it's Toontown on the other side." Yeah, so it was super cool. Anyways,
That rocks. I love it.
I know, I know.
Um, I don't know. It's like, you know, when I went up to Griffith, I didn't go through a tunnel that I recall. That's very cool. I suppose I didn't realize that was a real place, but I guess it makes sense that it is.
Yeah,
Love it.
so I know it was great. So, do you have any occurring,
I
or do you
do,
want to
and it's
move on to
kind of
where it's
related to
epic?
it's
Ooh.
kind of related to our topic. So I saw a T-shirt the other day. I'm blinded now because I've just opened the link. And it said the T-shirt said, "I can't take Benadryl because I owe the Hat Man money and I don't want to see him." Right? And I was like, "What? What?" I had no idea of what this could possibly mean, and that's exactly the sort of shit that I love, and I need to find out about this. So I
You're
did
like,
some,
what wormhole can I go down?
yeah, and I'm like, woohoo!
Okay,
So
can I guess? Is
yes,
it the Monopoly Man?
no.
Okay.
But you know what Benadryl is, and I think it's an American
Yeah.
thing, right? So like,
Yeah.
okay, so there is a known phenomenon called the Black Hat Man or the Benadryl Hat Man, and it's one of the most frequently reported hallucinations among individuals experiencing methamphetamine psychosis and other substance-induced altered states. And basically,
Okay.
what happens is in those states, they will see a man in the corner, like a dark man with a black hat on, and it's really interesting. Like so, and it happens in Benadryl as well. If you OD in Benadryl, it can happen via that too. And so I started like researching it a little bit, and there are like, um, you know, some people are like, he doesn't necessarily feel like a bad thing. It might actually be like a kind of right, a kindly sort of presence. Some people are deeply unsettled by him. Uh, so interesting. I was like, well, this is a whole subculture I had no idea about. But like
Okay, what did the shirt say again?
the shirt said, Oh no, hold on a minute. I closed it down. Basically the shirt said, I don't want to take Benadryl because because if I do, I'll see the Hat Man and I owe him money. It's a
Oh my gosh.
so basically it's a kind of like a layer upon layer joke of, it's basically like you know, supposing a relationship with a Benadryl Hat Man, that means you have borrowed money off him, which is, obviously farcical, but yeah.
Or like there's a subculture of people that take so much Benadryl that they hallucinate.
That they hallucinate, yeah, that they
And
hallucinate,
then
and
they
maybe,
put it on a t and then they put
yeah,
it on a t-shirt.
I love that. I love that. I love the t-shirt side of it so much. I also just like the whole, like, thought of like, having a psychotic sort of like hallucination and asking to borrow money off the guy. Really quite tickles me.
Like so in my 20s, I
Uh-huh.
used Benadryl as a sleep aid
Uh-huh.
with alcohol, right?
Oof.
As you
Uh-huh.
do. And I never saw the Hat Man. That's why I'm so interested. I'm like, did I see him? Was he there? Was I too drunk to notice?
Maybe he's just thought it was just another guy that that just happened to be in the corner. But yeah, so
Or I
like
talked to him because that's what I do in dreams.
eh, perhaps.
I
So
just
like
sit and I was doing it the other night. I had like 3 conversations with 3 people, and I'm like, okay, there's no like flying. It's just chatting.
that's nice too. Like, I mean, considering what
Ugh.
dreams can do to you sometimes. Uh,
That's true. That's true.
in fairness, some people have said that like
That's fucking weird.
right, there are mixed reports of people saying they see the Hat Man when they were lucid again in the future as well, right? And it's so interesting. It's exactly the sort of weird shit, and I suppose it is a conspiracy theory to tie into today's topic. But it's just such I think conceptually shared hallucinations are such a fascinating thing. So yeah, so
People have like drawn this.
yeah.
There's like images. It's fucking freaky. Some of them not so much, but like, oh, and they're, oh, wow. You guys, this is a big deal.
Isn't it? Isn't it so? Like, I mean, like, it's exactly the sort of weirdo shit that I love, but
Here's
like,
someone's like, they're like on Twitter or whatever. They're like, me after taking 17 Benadryl and start seeing the Hat Man.
yeah,
What the fuck?
I
What the
know.
fuck did you step in here, Andy?
Exactly the sort of
Andrew?
exactly the sort of insane shit I like to step in.
Okay,
But
I'm
yeah, and I
obsessed.
and I had
I'm
found this even
obsessed.
before we had talked about the topic today. I'd found this and I wanted to talk about it in this week's episode, but like it really does kind of tie into, I think, because it is kind of a conspiracy. Like, and I mean, like they talk a little bit about like X-Files style stuff, which very much lives in the realm of conspiracy theories and things like that. Which brings
Wow.
us to this week's
To our
topic.
topic. Good job. Sorry, I'm just down the
You're
I'm
just,
on
yeah, you're
Reddit.
down a friggin'
I'm in my yeah, my Reddit mind garden.
your Benadryl Hat Man friggin' nightmare spiral.
So excited. Do you know what I would do the rest of the
I
day?
know. Um,
Oh, okay.
so I mean, you can tell me what you think about this, but like I've been thinking about titling this episode "Conspiracy Theories: Not as fun as they used to be." But let me know if you think,
No, I
because
agree with that actually.
this
Some of them I was
conspiracy,
like, we can't talk about this, or we can't
yeah.
talk about this, or we can't talk about this because like they
So
came
yeah, but
true.
we're just going to talk about conspiracy theories
I like
and
yeah, the ones we like.
yeah, the ones the chill ones, the fun ones, like that they talked about in X-Files and stuff, not the completely kind of messed up ones that like are affecting our everyday lives, those sorts of things.
I got some of those, but only because like I'm interested and I have some thoughts.
Okay, do you have any ones you want to kind of lead off with or something? I was like, that's just
Right.
occurred to me. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to give the definition. So, conspiracy theory is an explanation for an event or situation that asserts the existence of a conspiracy, generally by powerful, sinister groups, often political in motivation, when other explanations are more probable. I like
Interesting.
that. I know it's a good definition. So, I live in a part of the country where like there are planes flying overhead that are like uh running drills all the time. So let's start with chemtrails.
Yeah, love it. Great one to
Do you
start
know what
with.
a chemtrail is?
I do
Okay.
indeed.
Um, so basically it's known as they call it a SLAP. It's the Secret Large Scale Atmospheric Program. And they think that the water condensation, not they, people think that the water condensation that you see that comes after the plane as it flies
Hmm.
is like full of toxins, and then all of that like rains down on us or whatever.
Yep.
Um, and so they say that 17% of the population globally believe in the theory, that it's true or partly true. The Carnegie Institution actually did a study. It was a peer-reviewed study, which this shit is my jam. I love a
Yep.
good peer-reviewed Carnegie Institute of Science study. Um, so basically, all the scientists are like, yeah, it's just water vapor, and we
Yeah.
sampled it, and it's water vapor. But I know people who are related to people that believe in chemtrails and believe it's a thing, and like,
Interesting.
so I know. So like, I I don't know. It's like the other conspiracy theory that like sometimes planes just open up their the poop chute and let all of the like
Yeah.
shit out of the plane and urine out of the plane, and it just kind of rains down and wherever, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Like on chemtrails, like my general my but like so many conspiracy theories and like you know I tend to look at humans even
Mm,
on a macro scale and go, we're like mostly not as smart as we think we are, right? And
yeah.
and like the level
We
of
can't decide if Pluto is a planet or not.
yeah,
So
I don't like and also also who cares? And also like why it's there's the level of secrecy required to like hide a conspiracy theory, it absolutely collapse. And like so many of the like big conspiracy theories, there absolutely would have been credible witnesses that would have come forward. Like, the moon landings is such a big one in terms of like to do something on that scale. There is no way there wouldn't have been a whistleblower, but like they talk about there's some sort of theory, some sort of mathematical thing where it's kind of like once you involve a certain number of people, the amount of time you can keep something a secret, that sort of thing. So it's why
oh
I'm kind of
yeah,
so dubious about
because
all of that
humans
stuff
can't keep secrets.
because I can't keep secrets. Yeah, I'm a bomber,
I
man.
think you're right. I would agree with that. I
You
would
know,
definitely agree with that.
like and I think that like there are definitely some conspiracy theories that have turned out to be true, and there is some like weird and wonderful shit that does happen out there. And I think then that you know if one kind of nuts thing turns out to be true, then it's easy to kind of go, well, if that was true, then ergo, where it's like they're completely separate things. They're completely, so yeah, I you know, I think we've talked about X-Files and stuff before. We've already talked about it in this episode.
I love
Um,
X-Files.
so yeah, I remember in the 90s being obsessed with like conspiracy theories on X-Files. I read a book on X-Files and things about like, spontaneous human combustion and things like that and those sorts of concepts, right?
Oh, yes, I've seen those photos.
Yeah. And like I find all that stuff fascinating, and I was so engaged with it and so curious about that and curious about, ghosts and which are, I suppose aren't necessarily a conspiracy theory, but like, do you know what I mean? Like that sort of like realm of the unknown. But like I think that they have become, and I feel like I've definitely made this point in the podcast before as well. Like what a conspiracy theorist is now compared to what it was in the 90s when we were watching the X-Files are two very different things,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
you know?
And I almost like when you're like, should we do this as our podcast topic? And I
Yeah.
was like, or conspiracy theories. And then I was like, or is that too like Joe Rogan of us? Right? Is that too Joe Rogan? Right? Because so many, and neither good nor bad, but
Yeah.
like so many theories are being talked about um by people that are credible and not
Yes.
on really, really big platforms.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's probably, I mean, obviously conspiracy theories are very interesting, but that's kind of the phenomenon of them becoming real and like flat earthers
Yeah.
becoming, there's a logo Let me try to
For flat
show you.
earthers.
Yes, they have a logo, and I'm trying to show you. Here, here's the logo for the flat earthers. I found that.
Correct.
So I think a lot of it, like we can talk about like them individually, but like as a whole, I think there's probably a kernel of truth to everything.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there's a
not
reason
that
why a
the
lot of these things exist.
Yeah, but I also think that I'm just agreeing with you
Yeah.
that
I I also think that it's a little bit I think one of the big drivers for a lot of this stuff is that feeling that you have some sort of secret knowledge that a lot of the rest of the world doesn't have. And how that makes people feel. Because I get that as well. Like I absolutely get that.
Mhm.
But like I think that can be like the desire to like feel you're in that position is very easy to manipulate as well.
Yes. And I also think there's like a semblance of a desire to like not be able to be in control.
Yes.
This is me going off like on a tangent, but oh, the moon landing wasn't real, so like we have no control over this like sector of like NASA isn't real, and then that
Yes.
feeds um the companies that are building bunkers for millionaires.
This is another big part of the problem. Is like now once money's involved and there's a way
Yeah,
to extract cash off people by
yeah,
feeding this information, it becomes
yes.
even more insidious and even more dangerous.
Well, and it's like I was thinking about chemtrails, and I'm like, okay, so say, yeah, they are raining down toxins on all of us, then like who would be paying the scientists to not, you know, say what is true and say that it's all water vapor, and it's like, the airline companies, and we know that these things happen, behind closed doors. So, but to what extent? So when I say there's like a kernel of truth, probably somewhere in there, it's like, well, how much?
Yeah.
Like what percentage? And like my husband works in water science, so he's always just like, yeah, like yes, there's, you know, like a certain amount of this chemical or that metal in what you're eating or drinking, but like based on how much, the percentage, like it's a buzzword
Yes.
instead of something that's harmful.
But isn't it also like I mean the other thing I think as well is that like certainly with things like that is that the reality of what's going on with water, for example, is very complex and
Oh
like
yes.
you probably need to have a certain level of education in that area to
Oh
really fully
yes.
understand it. So it's like how do you communicate that to then the average person who maybe wants to know that information. So like it's much easier to like present these big, you know, there's whatever in the water, this really dangerous chemical, rather than getting into the complexities of why that might be the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's nice. It's nice to have someone in my life where I'm like, oh my God, this thing. And he's like, actually, it
Yeah.
it's not a big deal at all.
I think it's why it's important to listen to people who like have an education in these things. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I always, if I know somebody has done the work, I'm like, tell me, you know what I mean? Because like, there's so much I don't know, so much. Um,
So do you have any specific ones that you want to talk about?
I kind of do. Do you want to lead off? I mean, I really do want to talk about the moon landing because I did mention that earlier. I
I do too. I'm
Okay,
obsessed.
let's talk about the moon landing then. I also want to talk about the JFK assassination, and I also kind of want to talk
Oh,
about
me
that.
too.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So we do moon landing first.
Yes. I
Okay.
almost brought my props because I have all of the NASA photos of moon landing.
Um, it's such an interesting one,
It is.
and like I think it's a great one because it kind of does feel surreal that anybody landed on the moon in the late 60s. It's crazy to me, considering where technology was at that time, you know? So I think there's such a fertile ground to think it's a conspiracy theory in there.
So you don't think the moon landing
Oh no, I definitely do think it happened. But I'm
happened?
saying
Okay.
that like
There's a kernel of truth.
I'm saying that because I think because the it feels outlandish because I think it does. Like I feel like it was such an incredible leap forward that it would be easy to say to somebody, well, it doesn't feel quite real, does it? And like
Yeah,
see
yeah.
that idea, you know?
So there's a movie that just came out. I think it's called Fly Me to the Moon with like
Yes.
Scarlett Johansson. I started to watch it, but Mike was like, I'm bored. And I was like, it's the moon landing, stop it. But basically there's a theory that the moon landings were staged, and this movie kind of goes into that. But they there's the theory that they were staged. The moon landing was filmed in like a NASA studio. And the director that was involved was Stanley Kubrick,
Yes.
which I love. I didn't know that
Yeah.
until 10 minutes before we started recording. When I was doing my research. Anyways, so but it was like at the same time we were trying to beat the United States was trying to beat the Soviets to be the first one to land on the moon. And there's also like I get this concept of like, okay, it was like the same time where TV would go off at the same time every night. It would be like that horrible sound, and like it had the image, and it was like the Howdy Doody show was on, and like technology wasn't quite where it is now. And how did you broadcast from another planet an entire moon landing, right? And televise it into everyone's houses?
I mean, it really does feel outlandish, and I think, and like, and it really is kind of mind blowing. But like, I think, like, to me, what really
And
kind
then
of
we
makes
never did it again.
well, this is also true because it was so bloody expensive and like dangerous. I think that like, you
Or how
know,
do you recreate that?
well, this is it. Like, I think like I think the reason why we didn't do it again is because there's no money in it. Like, I mean, there maybe will be long term, but that's the reason why so many things happen. And like, I think that when you really take a step back and you look at like what was happening in the world at the time and like how at loggerheads the USSR and America
Yeah,
was at that time, and you see
yeah.
that as that's what it was about. It was about we're going to beat them, we're going to show you them where this. Then it makes a lot more sense why they would throw so many resources, so much, so much time to make this happen, to make it happen because it was a point of pride, a point, So like, I think it becomes easier to like see the reality of it whenever you kind of think about the larger picture.
Do you think that like we landed on the moon, but we recorded it in a studio?
I don't think
We don't
so.
have to. No, you think it happened? I think it happened.
I, I,
Like we can't make this shit up, right?
I, I'm like, I don't think there's any way that it wouldn't have come out by now, truly. Like, I just don't. And like, I, you know, I also completely understand why the hoax exists, like or why, sorry, the conspiracy theory exists because of like it's so compelling and it was such a
Yeah.
like, but it like what's really makes me sad is that it is, no matter what way you cut it, it is such an incredible achievement by humanity, and specifically the
Mhm.
people that did it, and it so undermines that.
Mhm.
Um,
I just stood in Neil Armstrong's footprints
nice,
at the outside the Grauman's Chinese Theater.
awesome.
And I was just like, this is weighty. This is heavy. This is like what they accomplished was really, really amazing.
Like it's the people that go up to Buzz Aldrin and like try to like hassle him about it. It's just like fucking crazy
Yeah.
to me. Crazy to
Yeah.
me. Like I also can't understand,
It's like if Jeff Bezos can go to space. Sorry.
right? Exactly.
Don't hunt us down,
No,
please.
yeah, but
Go for Andy first.
yeah, please do, yeah, please. And I am like, I am absolutely sympathetic to people that like want to like believe this stuff, but like whenever you're actually going out in the real world and you know actually challenging people who have done it, I don't know. There's lines that just seem to be crossed. That seems to happen so kind of quickly. It's just kind of a bit crap, I think. Um, any
Yeah,
more thoughts on the moon
agreed.
landing?
Do you want to talk about JF?
Yes, I do. And I think it's such an interest.
Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, no.
Okay.
Sorry. I think we have a little bit of a delay on the Zoom.
Oh, do we?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is that so? Does
Okay.
that sound okay now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Uh,
Um, don't forget, guys, we're doing this in the United States and Ireland, so
yeah. I
eh,
and maybe I'll
we're
cut
doing
this.
our
We'll see.
best.
We'll see how it goes.
I think leave it.
Yeah. Okay. Leave it in.
Minimum effort. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm good on the moon landing.
Okay.
We also like, yeah, we had Mike's dad bought a bevy, and we have like 150 different photos from NASA of the moon landing that he got from some estate sale. And just like I've gone through every single photo and categorized it and like with white gloves and like I've seen the photographic evidence and I do believe that it did happen. So
I. Uh, yeah. I absolutely. I think so. But again, I think it really sheds us an interesting light on why these things happen
mhm.
and so on. But like, I think that the JFK is really even honestly more interesting in that regard and the conspiracy theory around it. Because like,
You've been to Dallas, right?
yeah,
Did you do the tour?
I did.
I did too.
Fascinating. So fascinating. And like you see where he shot from, you're like, huh. That's all right.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's a
the
very
what
odd, macabre thing.
the one what I saw what I thought was so interesting, and I can't remember where I saw this point of comparison I was looking for and I couldn't find it, was people talked about um JFK assassination was assassinated, and there's so much conspiracy. There's a big conspiracy theory about it, about being this second, possibly even the third shooter, and all those sorts of things. And then they talk about like other assassination attempts. So, for example, Ronald Reagan in the 80s and why it doesn't have conspiracy theories, and it's some really interesting stuff. Like they talk about, what the nature of these things, what it says about the nature of some of these things that makes them live in the conscious, the larger consciousness, and makes people start questioning them. But yeah, I thought, I'll talk about that more in a minute. But I thought that was very interesting.
Mhm. And so, for those of you who haven't been to Dallas and haven't stood on the grassy knoll, it's a weird feeling um to stand where I mean we've all seen you see it in movies, you see it on the news, like it's just like this thing that we all see as people that watch television. You see him being assassinated over and over and over again throughout
Yeah,
your life. You see Jackie, you know, uh trying to run away and then sitting back down and trying to hold his brains in his head. Like it was a
yeah,
horrible thing that happened. And in Dallas, they have a book depository museum that you can go to. You see the window that he shot out of. You can stand right where he stood, and you see the part that got me was you actually see the place setting that Kennedy was supposed to sit down and eat from, and they put that in the museum, and I was like, that's weird.
that is weird. I don't recall that.
Yeah, so it's like, it's enclosed in glass and but that
Hmm.
was, what he was, if things had gone differently, he would have eaten off that place setting and it wouldn't be in a museum. So, um, I also read that there have been over 1,000 books written about the assassination and different theories about why and how. And I think that it was kind of like this was right around the time the Vietnam War was, kicking into gear. We were coming out of the 1950s, and that idea of like the nuclear family and, life being perfect. And Kennedy represented that, they call
Yes,
it the
yes.
Camelot. It represented sort of in a lot of people's minds, sort of this like perfect time in American history, even though we had the Cuban Missile Crisis and all these other things were happening. Whatever. Um, so to have him be like everyone remembers, if you talk to anybody, probably in your country too, like where were you when Kennedy was shot? Or like, do you remember the day? Like everybody remembers where they were that exact moment. Um,
It's it's interesting that funny. We talked about in a previous episode. Beth got me to read Prayer for One Meanie recently. I loved it, but they talk a little bit about it because they talk about the significance of Kennedy as a president because I think he was the first Catholic president.
Mhm.
I think that's correct. And like what a big
He was
deal that was. It was the first time that happened and how controversial that was and things like that as well. So it made him such a sort of like unique figure to be in the presidency.
yeah. And they had babies, like they created a
Hmm.
family. It was like everyone was watching kind of like the life that they all wanted to be living. Um, and it was that I used to in college, I was like obsessed with Woodstock and
Hmm.
obsessed with the Kennedys and the Kennedy assassination. So I used to go up, we called it like the stacks where like they keep all the old like Time magazine and Life magazine. Like you have the entire history of both magazines, and I would go and I would pull the Life magazines for the Kennedy assassination. I still have some.
I
Like
even
people
know that
gift
cover.
me. Yeah.
It's such a famous one. Yeah.
It is, but I have like a whole I used to have them framed and Mike was like, this is weird. Like we were spray painting and had all like Kennedy assassinated and like in a frame and like a widowed like Jackie O. And he's like, why do you have all these assassination posters all over your house? And I was like, I guess that's weird. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good. Now that you
I'm a
pointed
history
out,
professor. Yeah, yeah. So I took him down, but I still have them in frames.
nice.
I
I mean,
know.
but they're so significant. It is so significant. Like what did you say? There's 1,000 books or 1,000 or more books?
1,000 books have been written about the
Crazy.
assassination, at least 90%, which think that it was a conspiracy. And basically the conspiracy is that it was all including like the CIA, the mafia, the sitting vice president Lyndon B. Johnson, the Cuban Prime Minister Fidel Castro, because at the same time we were having the Cuban Missile Crisis, where they had asked uh, the I don't know if it was Russia or the USSR at that point, but for a nuclear bomb, and they had said yes, and we were like, no, we have one too, and it was this whole thing.
Yeah.
So also the KGB that all conspired to have him murdered. So, and it wasn't just one person. It was like, yeah, one to three, because everyone's like, there's no way that Oswald could have made that shot.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know.
It, yeah, like, it's like, I mean, I've just, so long ago when I actually went and I did the tour and I went to the big repository and things like that. And like, I honestly, I remember looking through the window because the whole thing is like, you're supposed to look through the window and you can barely see where he was actually
Yeah,
shot, but I didn't even know where
yeah,
he was shot. Like, I had no real context for it, it was like, and the thing, I think there's probably something there, right? There probably is because like he was progressive and he was, as I say, the first ever Catholic Protestant president. Whoa.
that's what is it? A Freudian slip?
Freudian slip, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
Protestant president?
Protestant
Catholic,
Protestant,
Catholic,
yeah,
Catholic,
exactly. Yeah,
Andy,
no, Catholics,
Catholic.
Catholic. No, I'm just obsessed with Protestants. And like, so they like, and those and people like that are dangerous, and like, I know there's a lot about like, how progressive actually was Kennedy and like, blah 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 and all that sort of shit, but I am quite sure that he was seen as quite a dangerous political figure, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who would have a vested interest in somebody like that not being president anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And I was Googling this specifically, and then it came up with a whole list of other people that have been assassinated or um what's the term that people use now? Unalived themselves.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Um, yep. And it's a big list, right? It's like Malcolm X and you know
Yeah.
a lot of civil rights leaders, Martin Luther King. So it's that's a whole like Black Hat Man wormhole Benadryl thing.
100%.
Um,
I
can do you have any other thoughts?
No, I don't. I like it's an interesting one, but I think, I would like to move on and talk about a few others as well for sure.
Okay,
And I'm
what do
just
you
conscious
have?
of time. Well,
Okay.
like like I really kind of want to talk about some ones that maybe are. And I'm trying. I was like I wanted to talk about ones that are kind of maybe a bit more chill, and I'm like I
Mhm.
don't know how many of them are chill. I guess like the moon landing is chill. Um, like so many of them are around so much, kind of like fucked up shit, as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like I think that like for me probably the most fun one. There's like okay. I'll talk about one that I really do enjoy because it's a subject I enjoy. But first of all, I think there is um there's a guy called John Ronson who
Mhm.
has written multiple books, and he wrote probably the most famous book he wrote was the one that was turned into a movie. It was called The Men Who Stare at Goats, and it was about right. It was about this
George
CIA.
Clooney.
Mhm. And it was
Mhm.
about this CIA experiment or whatever to basically find guys who had psychic powers that they could deploy in the field essentially. And like a lot of the book was about the book, like it was just one of these things. It's like, why has this book been made into a movie? Because it was just like looking into a variety of these different sort of conspiracy theories, and that's what the movie kind of was as well. There's a lot of that sort of stuff. I mean, like, it's kind of also what, like, all of the Indiana Jones movies are about, about Hitler looking for some sort of secret weapon based on, like, conspiracy theories and, like, religious or whatever sort of myths. Um, and well, I've kind of lost my train of thought. Not,
Well, it's like that's why we have steroids. Yay!
it's true, absolutely true. Um, but, like, oh, yeah, sorry, John Ronson, Many Psychos. Okay, so he also did. He did a book called Them, and it was like eventually with extremists, and it was talking about basically he spent time with people who both have extreme views, but also people who had conspiracy theory views. So there's a guy called David Icke, who I don't know if you know about this guy. It might ring a bell once I start talking about it in detail.
Okay.
He essentially was a footballer in the UK, and eventually I don't know whether he initiated it or whether he was the figurehead of a conspiracy theory that basically said that the world is run by a faction of lizard people, including the royal family, including, do you know this one?
I've
And
heard of the lizard people.
also like it's just a cabal essentially of all the kind of influential top level sort of people. And like, at the time John Ronson was writing this book, he spent some time with him and stuff like that. He saw him doing like shows and he was talking to people and he's like spreading these theories and things like that. And like it was interesting because like, obviously you can get so much only get so much insight when you're talking to these people, and they obviously live in a certain world, based on their views and things like that. And
Totally.
it seemed like he was like a really kind of isolated guy who was kind of looking for a connection, which I think has been the linchpin of my understanding so much of this stuff. It's just, I think, a desire. I think I've talked to you about my theory before, which is that like all sort of things that humans do are based on one of two things, either connection or control. Or,
Yes.
or at least the illusion of control. And I think that that's exactly what this is. It's kind of like I think so many of these conspiracy theories are people looking for connection, and they're like, here's somebody who's I can chat to about my fun thing, and even if those things can be kind of like insidious at times, it's like a group that you can become part of.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the lizard people. It's got its own Wikipedia page. Reptilian conspiracy theory. They have a diagram of what the reptile looks like versus what the human looks like.
Right? And like so the whole
Uh,
idea was essentially they
including the
wore.
genitalia.
Yeah. Oh, really? I haven't seen that. Like they have, because like the whole thing was that they wore skin suits and they would peel the skin suits off. And I think that that's
Right.
like the origins of the way they talked about the Democrats eating babies and stuff like that. That's the
Yeah.
origins of a lot of that. Because that I think, at least anyway, I'm sure it was influential on it. Because like, these lizard people ate babies and things like that. And, but
Like
nuts.
here's a sign someone wrote. It's like, like at some protest, do we really need another reptilian shapeshifter as president? Question mark.
No. I know the reptilian shapeshifters.
This just goes on and on and on.
So
This is the whole thing. Yeah. Wow, Andy.
I think, yeah, so like, I mean, like, I think we could talk about this probably for like 3 or 4 different episodes, but I think we should end with a slightly more fun one and one
Okay.
which is Roswell.
Mm. You're
And I
like
think
hitting all my favorites. Yeah.
it's a corker.
S- So Roswell is that's the same as Area 51,
Yeah,
right? Yep. Okay. So and it's on Route, is it on Route
I think it
66?
might be close. Yeah, that's a good
It's
question.
on like Route 66 or Route 67. Um, so there, yeah, there's a specific area in Nevada,
Think so?
New Mexico,
Yeah.
New Mexico, that you're not allowed to go to. There's signs like if you they're allowed to shoot you if you cross the fence,
Yeah.
basically. And the theory is that there's some sort of like alien or alien spacecraft that landed there, and that the government has built this entire, compound to research aliens and alien activity.
Hmm.
Um, they won't tell you what's actually there, and it's all kind of hush hush, and like you're not allowed to fly planes over it. You're not allowed to, there's no tours, obviously.
Yeah.
And if you watch movies like Independence Day, like the aliens are coming and people are like, let's go to Area 51 because they know all the things.
They live there. Yeah.
Right. So, have you driven there? Mike has
No.
done that like he's driven by the fence,
Hell
and I
yeah.
feel like I have too. And it's just like, yeah, it's weird seeing like you can be shot on sight signs
Yeah.
and be like, if I made the wrong choice and I like grabbed the fence, you know?
True.
What if I was Thor and my hammer was on the other side? I don't know, but
I mean, like he has a certain set of skills that make it harder for him to be
it's
killed.
true. It's true. It's true. So yeah, I guess like you're asking the bigger question about like, are aliens real?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. I mean, like I think that that is an interesting one. I think that's a whole separate episode, I think. But I think that
Hmm.
Roswell is such a fun one, because it's like
Okay. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
it's quite
So in
right.
Independence Day, which is like the Bible of alien
Mhm. Sure.
information, I feel like the president is like, why did no one tell me about this? Because they like got him to Roswell and they were like,
Yes.
Here's the alien ship." And one of the guys was like, well, sir, plausible deniability.
Yeah.
So that to go back to your earlier point, that could be the like it's possible that people have kept a secret and they don't pass that information on.
Yeah. I like
And it's
I
possible that we have a president in the United States right now that can't keep a secret, and maybe he doesn't know things because of plausible deniability. So,
very, very there's a very good point in both of that. I mean, I don't think that, I think there are big secrets that are kept. I do think that's true. I absolutely do. But like I think that like the scales that some of these things are talked about would be virtually impossible to like pull off without,
absolutely.
you know. But like I think Roswell's just such a fun one because it came at such a like cool time and like alien craziness and UFO craziness and like there was all the stuff about is it a weather balloon? What actually was it that was found there? Was there actually a body found? Was it actually an alien body and all this sort of stuff? And whenever you like, and there has never been any conclusive proof as to what actually happened there. Really, there's not, at least officially. And there's so much stuff about what the Americans were researching at the time. Like, what they have said is that like some of the research that was going on there was that went into building the first stealth jets and things like that. So it's like it's impossible to know, and there's a reason probably why they want to keep a lot of that stuff secret as well. You know.
Okay, I'm on Google Earth right now and I'm
Mm-hmm.
Googling Area 51
Mm-hmm.
on Google Earth.
I'm in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like the desert. There's like a runway.
I'm really hoping Bessie's a
Great.
UFO parked somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, there's it. Yep, it's there. It's
There we go.
somewhere. Yep, yep. It looks
So
like, what the fuck is that actually? What is that? That's weird. Maybe that's a water tank or baseball field or an alien ship. Hard to say.
so I think that's a good place to end, right? So basically, Beth and I have conclusively proved
We
that
sure have.
some conspiracy theories, the chill ones that everybody likes, are true, especially the ones relating to aliens. But
Aliens are real.
we just need to make sure that Will Smith doesn't do the first introduction to
Right.
them. He has a history of
No.
punching both aliens and humans or slapping them.
What's the welcome to Earth,
Well,
bitch?
yeah. It's so funny. So yeah.
I think
Okay.
I've seen that movie a few times. I'm
Talking
embarrassed.
about this now, I need to rewatch it. It's been so long. But yeah, any other thoughts on this, Beth, before we sort of like start wrapping things up?
You know, keep it interesting, people. Keep
Yeah,
coming up with these creative ideas because it's fascinating and I love it.
I agree. I would say like be chill about it, but absolutely go nuts. Just have a nice time.
And
But
like if you have anything like the Benadryl Black Hat Man, please send it to us because I just
please
need to
do.
know all the things, all the
Yeah,
things.
and just check for me in my Benadryl Hat Man t-shirt probably in a few weeks'
How
time. I'm
many
guessing.
Benadryl do I need to take?
We'll do research. We'll do an all
Uh,
Benadryl episode, just Beth and I and Benadryl losing our minds.
Did you see the man? Do you see the man yet?
He's there, he's there, he's there.
He's there. Okay.
All right, love it.
Good.
Okay,
Yep.
so on to the final part of our episode, our favorite bit, as always.
Mhm.
What has been bringing you joy this week?
Severance.
Yes.
Did you finish it?
Yep, I did.
Did you like? Did it was good? It was good. It was
It was great.
good.
I really
It
liked
was
it. I really liked
great.
season two.
Yeah.
I think how they built out the world is really cool.
Hmm.
I think that the ending, I mean, the ending was the only way. I'm not going to spoil it in case anybody's listening, but like the ending, I think was the only way they could have feasibly done anything more with it. I think, in terms of season three, but I am hopeful that they don't do too much more because I think that it is. I think that it's going really well so far. So maybe three, maybe four seasons max. I hope, because I don't want them
Hmm.
to just kind of friggin' let this thing run and run and then it just collapse.
So I was in the blogs reading about it because uh I was like, there's got to be more to this,
Yeah.
right? There's got to be like some basis of like the book that you recommended where it's like there's a story that keeps being told over and over, and that's what becomes all the movies that we watch. So basically it's the Orpheus myth,
Hmm.
um, where he's in love with, oh, this is like really long. Anyways, he's in love with somebody. Hades is like, I love her too, but if she follows you back into the upper world and you don't look back to see if she's there, she can go with you. If not, then I'm taking her with me. And so it's
Ah,
like, right? It's like that, and he does look back, and she
yeah.
like, right? Because he's still one person, but it's like, I don't know. I like that. I like that someone made that connection.
That's very cool. I think that's a really good one. I could see the
Yeah.
influence absolutely. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
So, and also I'm like, they couldn't have just come up with this idea all by themselves.
Yeah.
They're like, right? I love Ben Stiller, but like I love his work so
Uh,
much, but there's no way there's new ideas.
apparently the guy, this is true. I mean, like it's all just stories being retold in a different way,
Right,
but
which is fine.
exactly. But I think that apparently the guy who brought this to Ben Stiller has it
Mapped
completely put
out.
together. He knows the story he wants to tell and has had it together for years now, apparently, which is why they were so excited to do it because it was like it's a complete concept. It has a beginning and it has an end. So I'm like,
Mhm.
and I think that it's going great so far. So I'm excited. I hope they really kind of like stick the landing. But
Yeah,
it's been wonderful so far. No, I'm glad you're
so
enjoying
good.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Um,
what
another
about
show,
you?
another show for me. I'm so happy. The Righteous Gemstones is back.
I
So
need to
good.
watch it.
You do need to
Really?
watch it. I think
I
because
heard PETA was like talking about mailing the cast monkey shit.
Mhm.
Because there's like talk of monkeys being like on the show or like monkeys in a
Oh,
trailer. And so
all sorts of shit.
they were like posting photos of boxes of monkey shit. I was like, this is amazing.
I think that. because you talk about like you find stuff that Mike would enjoy. I genuinely think he would enjoy the humor in it, and I think that
Okay.
like because like you said you just
I
enjoyed
love
the
the
Danny.
cast.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
here's the other thing that I love about that show. I mean, it's just great to have it back. I think it's very funny. It's a sense of humor I really enjoy, but every outfit in that show is phenomenal. It just picks them so well. It speaks to the characters so brilliantly, so
It's like
often.
Sunny and Cher, where Cher's like,
It
yeah,
it just
wearing
speaks.
her Bob Mackie outfit.
Yeah, it just speaks to the character. It just you see the outfits and you're like, that's exactly what that character would wear, and it's perfect. It's
Okay.
so funny.
Okay.
But yeah, incredible stuff, and I'm so happy
Okay.
it's back. But yeah,
Good. Good.
love
Good.
it. All right, Beth, could you let everybody know where they can find us?
We are on bendypodcast.com and all channels that you could possibly think of. So find us wherever you need to and
All
tell
of
your
them.
friends
Yeah.
and your
All right,
family
folks. Yes, exactly. And enemies,
and your
as we
dogs.
described before, and dogs. Yeah.
Right, right.
All right, folks. In that case, as always, we'd like to remind you to
Stay
stay
bendy. You totally
bendy.
had a burp stuck. Oh,
I
all
lost my
right.
nerve there. Beth went longer. Boo. All right. We
It's been
love
too
you.
long. All right.
Bye.
Love you too.